My name is Jamie Cohen. I work for the University of Florida, IFAS Marion County Extension. My program is Water Quality and Natural Resources Conservation, but I live here in horse capital of the world, so I spend the majority of my time talking about manure management, pasture fertilization, and other best management practices. These are things that help protect the ground and surface waters. Today's video, we're going to show 4 different examples of very good manure management practices. Each one of these farms ranges in size from only a 3-acre farm to a 119-acre farm, a variance of horses in between. They're all practical, usable, and cost-effective manure management techniques, perhaps some which you hadn't considered, but each one of them is a good one that could be used on your farm. So let's go take a look.
I'm Lynn Rainbow at the Acorn Farm in Ocala, Florida. We're a 119-acre thoroughbred breeding farm that was established in 1978. We generally carry 30 to 50 head of horses on our farm. We primarily use locally grown Bahia grass bedding in our stalls. We muck our stalls each day, load it onto the wagons, and take it next door to the neighbors' roping steers as a supplement to their feed.
Okay, this is an interesting manure management system that perhaps you haven't thought of. This manure is picked up and it's every day loaded up onto the truck. It's Bahia bedding, and then it gets fed to the neighboring cows. A lot of people hadn't thought of that option, but it's a very good manure management practices. It leaves for no piling or stockpiling of manure, and the manure gets utilized by the animals, and that also eliminates the nutrient waste. So now the bedding and the waste is getting taken to the cows in the field, and what he's going to do is he's going to dump this for the cattle, at which time all the cattle will eat it. This is actually a treat for the cows, and again, it's a great way to eliminate stockpiling, manure just sitting there doing nothing so the nutrients can leach into the ground. And you can see now the cows are quickly walking up. It's a good nutrient for them, it's a supplement for them, and it also does a great job of managing manure for the farm, and it also does a great job of eliminating any type of nutrient leaching or runoff into the water. Behind me you'll see about 2 months of our stall waste that's been composted. This happens to be compost that's about 7 months old. Over the winter, it was allowed to rest and complete the process of making compost. Now we're starting to take it away and use it for spring fertilization of various things on the property, including our pasture grass. We have a manure spreader over there, and we use that manure spreader to spread the compost. Puts a very fine covering over the fresh growing grass in the spring, and allows the nutrients from the compost to enrich the grass without our having to go out and purchase a lot of fertilizer, which is not nearly as good for our systems as the compost that we already have on the property. This is also another excellent manure management option. In addition to doing the compost on the farm, they have so many extra horses during the winter season that they use a dumpster to contain the manure, and this manure then goes from this dumpster and gets composted at another facility that's a commercial facility. But this is a great way to contain the manure as opposed to just stockpiling it. The compost that they currently have on the farm, they have such an excess amount of it, they're giving it away to the neighbors and considering marketing it to the nurserymen and growers, and they're also using it on their pastures and their fields, and it's a great way to help manage their fields and help supplement the grass and the soil with needed nutrients. This is a manure containment system which was built for me by this farm. It's a really big farm. They have upwards of 125 horses in the season. What they do is they contain the manure in here. Some of the manure, although it's all been taken out here, they do put in here and they compost this manure, and then once it's composted, they do utilize it on the pastures. They spend about 5 months here and about 7 months in New Jersey, so the compost goes on to the fields to help maintain the health of the fields. The third bin is utilized for shavings, and you can see that this ground is an impervious surface so that none of the nutrients leach into the ground and surface waters.
Hi, I'm Linda Lemish. My husband Tony and I live here at Dream Acres in Ocala, Florida. We've lived here about 11 months, and this is our first venture of having our horses on our own property, so we had a lot to learn about pasture management, nutrition, manure management, composting, the whole kit and caboodle. We did our homework, and with the help of the Extension Service have been able to maintain our 3 Tennessee Walkers on what in total is 2.4 acres, much less than that when you take away the house and a pool and the paved areas. So we have 3 horses that are on minimal acreage. We rotate the pastures, we spread our compost, we take them into the sacrifice lots so they can be outside during the day and not be confined to their stalls. But as you can see by all the green lushness around you, it's working very well. Behind me are our compost bins. This was my husband's project. We say he now has an MS, a master's in, you can fill in the blank. We do three bins rotating simultaneously. When one is dry enough, it gets spread on the pasture, and we fill them every day. We muck the stalls every day. We muck the sacrifice pasture as well as the regular pastures every day. So we have pretty much, with 3 horses, that's about 150 pounds of manure a day going into our bins.
So these are the sacrifice paddocks on the farm, and you can see that there's no grass anywhere on the farm, and that's okay. The reason they're called sacrifice paddocks is so that you can not worry about there being grass here, so you can help maintain the health of the pastures elsewhere. So they pick these paddocks regularly, but it gives the horses a nice ability to also get out and be outside. It's a very ideal system that can work very well on many farms. I wanted to show these pastures to give you an example of how the compost is utilized on the pastures, and then they also utilize a rotational grazing system, which helps maintain the health of the pastures. So they use the compost on the fields to keep the soil healthy. They don't cut the pastures too short, and they use a good rotational grazing system. And all these things help maintain the health of the pastures.
We've been to 4 farms, seen a few different options. We've seen one where it's not something that you would particularly think about, but you can just, if you use a Bahia bedding, feed it to the neighboring cows. We've also seen a forced air compost system that worked really nicely. And we've seen a large horse show facility that also composted and had a manure containment system. Both of those facilities used dumpsters to handle the excess manure that they had during the winter season with the addition of horses. And then this last facility is a small facility that does an excellent job with their composting of their manure that they then utilize on their paddocks to help maintain their paddocks. These are 4 different systems. Each one of them is very usable depending on the size of your farm, the size of your acreage, the number of horses. When you're developing a plan, I do suggest that you think about a lot of factors. Please remind yourself of the big picture. I want you to consider your neighbors, the slope of your land, any neighboring water bodies, if you have sinkholes, any kind of state, local code restrictions that you might have on the number of animals per acre. Please contact your extension office if you have any questions. Your local extension office can know all of the local codes and ordinances, but otherwise, keep up the good management practices.